Greetings, everybody. It's Marty, the JavaScript party. No Rhett today. I'm just tired. Tired. So I slept a lot. It is already almost 1 o'clock. 1 minute to 1 in the afternoon on Saturday. I think I had a pretty stressful week at work, so I think I needed to sort of recharge this weekend. So what we have here is a our application, and basically this with these classes has um, re basically redid routing, like the routing outlet. But one of the difference between this and that is that these app custom layouts are with the router. They're by just by the nature of routing, um, deleting themselves, being deleted when the browser, gosh, when the route changed, Angular would just delete the whole component. Um, and so I was thinking that, and then there was a lot of like the what are they called? Nodes, detached nodes in the F12, in the detached elements, and then in for some reason then after they changed the name of it from a detached element to a detached node here, but um, there was so my guess was that the routing was causing it, and I thought it would be better to just hide and show the components as opposed to I don't know what that beep was, um, as opposed to letting the router just destroy it. Like maybe that we won't get these detached nodes. So I feel like all these three layout components need to have an input, and I guess they all need to have the same input, um, and that input would be um, like active or inactive or something like that, and then it would be set to active or inactive based on the routing. Um, I'm going to try that. I don't know if we end up just having the same problems with detached nodes after, like, whatever the problem wasn't really at the routing level, it was more at the component level. Um, Not sure exactly what like we're kind of on very, very untraveled. Like I've never really traveled these paths before because I've never really cared about that before. But anyways, and I guess the fact that they're all going to have like sort of the identical um, like input, maybe it would have made sense to do like an implementation or like a class and a base class and extended or something like that. I'm not sure, but anyways, I guess we want to go into the app custom layout, and and so basically what we're trying to make happen here is the components. So when I hit, like if I'm in tabular mode and I hit this add viz, this component here gets created after, and the previous component that had it gets destroyed, um, because basically like this is right, like the way it's working right here, but then as soon as I hit this button, it really should be hidden. I mean, that one should be gone, and then this one should be populated. Um, so like, so we'll go back and we'll add a second one because I guess it wasn't super clear. So as we go here, oh, and then I guess it's, I don't know what's happening with this inspect. Yeah, for some reason, yeah, it did not even set the left and the right, so that it broke that piece of it too. So, and let's see, were there console errors? No. But basically, it's like all we can do is kind of work our way down. I know that if we can move all, I think, well, we get a little something if we go into update mode. Um, but yeah, so I guess in practice, what we want is when I go from one component, or when I go from one layout to another layout, the new layout is showing. But like in coding language or the coding thing, really what we're trying to do is we're trying to orchestrate when components are deleted and created. Um, so, and I don't know exactly how to do that. Like, I know that um, generally we sort of count on Angular just to do it in the right order, or it doesn't matter because it's not displayed long enough, and maybe that'll work too. Um, but I think the first step is to add a signal input. Now, one of the things that we learned was that um, signal inputs are damn near impossible um, to unit test. So I'm going to try to avoid that. And I guess what I would rather do is in each one of these layouts, listen to a class, a service. Listen to a shared service that tells it whether it should be showing things or not showing things. So I guess that is the first place to sort of start sniffing around. We do have services and we do have a utilities section. And inside of our hash service, we have these. We also have like a visualization service that handles these sorts of things. Was that in here? UI. So we have a UI service that I guess have like could handle sort of telling something. Well, I guess that maybe all, like I said, all we need is to be able to say like show or hide um, at this level, and maybe those um, detached elements would go away. But like I said, it's also very possible that the problem really wasn't at the router; it was more at the component creation and deletion. Now, so if that is the case, then this system that I'm about to start to implement will be fine. It's just that yeah, it'll be fine. It's just that um, it might have to be expanded on, like because I do think we yeah, I just don't know. It's a complete mystery to me. Now I'm wondering if UI service is a fair place to put this. So basically, what I'm first thing I'm trying to do is just create something so that the app can signal to the um, components that can publish to the components that that what what the current view is, and then the components at their level could maybe that's where you have to figure out. Um, but so this feels like the right place to put it inside this UI service. We're already doing a lot of signals. Um, so this gets the ST renderer and the visualization. So maybe we don't want to do that in here. Yeah, I think we want like a really simple little service that we can be sure is not like creating crazy references, like self references, then end up referencing things back to the self. It's kind of funny. I haven't really ever thought about that before. So I think it definitely goes in utilities, and I think it needs to be sort of a standalone. Yeah, it should be just like a regular service. It's a singleton, and I guess it should just have its own file. All right, so let's first thing I want to do when I create my new. This is what I like doing because I find that um, it's easy to like kind of remember, and wrap my mind around this. But see, here's where I created the publisher service. And what I want to create is a new utilities service. So anytime I open the package JSON, I always close everything else. Just feel like that's a good time to sort of do a reset. And then, so this thing is going to be the and this is where things, yeah, see, this is where things can get really, like, you can really start to over-engineer things at this point. So let's come back to this. See, we have a signal of the current route. I mean, like, this app has just got its own current route signal, and it's not that hard. Um, I mean, and this is like technically like one line of code. So then you're like, oh man, is it okay just to duplicate this exact code? We probably don't want to duplicate this exact code, but um, we well, we probably no, we probably want to have this function. Okay, so I think toSignal will create a signal, and if it gets called again, it's going to create a new signal. No, I don't think so. Not actually. Well, oh yeah, it will. It would create a new one, but it only gets called once um, whenever this service is constructed during the instantiation process. All right, so yeah, so the goal is to basically to move all of this into a very simple oh man. Okay, so now I guess, yeah, this basically all of this needs to come from basically this has to just get completely lifted and shifted to um, another thing, and then I don't think that, let's see, current route. Yeah, see, so current route is never even accessed in here. Um, yeah. Um, so so it actually seems like this whole thing needs to be lifted and shifted, and then this signal um, that needs to be created once, and then everybody just listens to that signal. Now, um, we really won't be able to control the order um, directly um, that they're fired in components. So each component may end up having to go look somewhere and see if its predecessor has been deleted or not yet. Um, so let's go ahead and create our new package, or our new service, and the new service is going to be the current route service. So, and it's a util. So this is the name that we'll call. And I always put an S in front of any kind of service, and then current route. So I guess in our natural language, we would typically do it the other way. We would say current route service, which I think that's what we'll end up naming it. Services, and then it's utilities. believe it's utilities. And then utilities. Oh, okay, so that wasn't published. And then I think it's just the name of it. So I think what I expect to see is a new file show up here in utilities. So like if you back up like 30,000 feet, what is happening here is that um, I was building this out and I was building out the CRUD. So that's create, read, update, and delete. And I ended up doing create and read and then delete and then update. So I was kind of moving through the process of doing update, and then I discovered that I wasn't really deleting well, which sort of enlightened me to the idea that, oh my gosh, when you're deleting something, literally all you're doing is removing a reference to it. You're not necessarily, it won't, you're not actually deleting it. You're just deleting a reference to it. Um, so if you have some other stray reference and you're done with it, then it's likely not going to. I wonder if I guess you could store all your references to yourself. Um, but anyways, yeah. So, which then led me to like, oh, okay, I need to work on my memory, see if I have things that are left in memory and all that. And I couldn't. I've never really had any luck, so it was very, very like, hey, maybe this will work, maybe this won't. And then in there, I discovered the concept of detached elements and detached nodes. And then there's always been this mystery around like all these big applications that I've worked on like why they just get slower and slower and slower as the day progresses. And then the answer is to hit refresh. And I think the culprit may be detached elements. So for this application, I thought it was important to try to avoid that if at all possible. So that's how we're all the way like down some rabbit hole that's a million miles away from update. Um, but basically, I think it is because I didn't really implement delete very well. So I just don't have that many experiences delete like purposefully deleting things. Okay, so this is the name of our thing. So our current route. So now it should just run this in the correct version of the CLI because I probably have a dozen CLIs versions on this computer. So this makes sure that it does the one for in this package. Um, it's kind of crazy that it takes so long. It's just a couple files. So first things first, it showed up where I expected. It showed up with the name I expected, and let's see if the class name is right. Um, so this class needs to have a a service. I mean a signal. And actually that might be harder than I thought maybe because I don't know like if yeah, I guess we can probably get a router. So I'm just going to copy this, move this over here. And so this gets run. So to signal, that comes from RxJS, I believe. Oh no, that's right. It comes from RxJS-interrupt. I remember that now. This router. Okay, so we have not created a router. So it's upset about that. So let's go back. Let's get us a router. We don't have an inject, so it's upset about that. An inject comes from core. We don't have a router. I can't remember where we got that. It makes sense that it would come from Angular router. We don't have filter, and I'm guessing that's from RxJS. Yeah. We do not have this, and I think that is from like HTML. Oh yeah, no, router, that makes sense. And then we don't have this, and this comes from RxJS. Now, conventional wisdom is that you don't want to actually expose your actual signal. It's probably a good idea. I definitely want to try it without doing it. I actually like sometimes, in some circumstances, it's nice to get your hand burned, like know exactly what the real problem is. I mean, I know the potential problem is that people will, what am I trying to say here? So the problem is that other components might execute, set the value of this route, and I guess it can be read only, right? Read only. Is there read only? Oh, okay. So I guess you wouldn't be able to set it. I don't know. I bet you that. See, I don't think that would actually mean anything because I think all that means is that I won't be able to change the route itself, which is still a good thing. But I could probably still execute functions on it. And I think that's why computed exists, is so that you can, that's sort of your way of exposing that without exposing the functions. So there's that. So it would be nice if at the very least we can use our new code in our, we're going to have to inject this guy. So the way we're doing this, I think I'm 99% sure that it will end up creating just a single version of this class, and that all the different, everything that listens to it will all listen to the same one. Now, if you did this as I can't remember the word for it, but there's a way that each one of them can have their own. Maybe that's the singleton. No, when you have your own copy. So I get my copy, you get your copy, everybody gets their own copy. This code would still technically work. It's just there would be like, for every time it got called, there would be a different signal. They wouldn't share the same stuff inside. So it's a good thing to know and a good thing to understand. It can sometimes really save you when you're trying to get stuff done. All right, so we want to bring our route service into our component. And so I think what I usually do is I type in this, and then I'll make this a lowercase, and then I'll hit the colon, and then I'll paste in again, equals inject, and then paste it in again. And then, yeah, it's always nice to see this little blue one. Kind of look, yep, I want it for my service utilities current route service. And that is how it's done. And now, instead of that, I think we can do this. So there's some place in here that I think I believe it's like that. Current route service, current route. I feel like that reads, it's a little redundant, but it reads, it's very clear what's happening there. I guess we need to save this one. There we go. Guess we had a fail. So if it works, if nothing dies at this point, looks like we might have to do a full hard restart. we did make a kind of a strange edge case change there that I could see the code that handles restarting like that may not dig into it. But here we go. Building. So I read yesterday that 60% of Americans don't read at a sixth grade level. And then I was kind of like, and I mean, I'm not judging. It's like your situation, really has a lot to do with where you end up. But yeah, it's like, how in the world could we ever get something like a digital currency? Because trying to manage those sorts of different things is quite challenging. And then you add layers of government bureaucracy in there, and oh my gosh. All right, so there's that. And then, yeah, so I think it is working. So theoretically, now I can get rid of this. Wow, it did a pretty big add viz. I think everything is still working. It's easier to tell, when there's an actual visualization. Yes, so so now, what we the next steps are to try to figure out, to tell this guy, hey, don't render anything, like whether it's whatever value it's using to read, whether it's setting that thing to an empty array, maybe that'll work really well. But I think that's going to be like the next step, because if that works, then like if it's like, hey, uh, don't there's whenever the next one comes up, um, like, so when I click this, we don't really want this guy to try to render until after the other one's gone. But we want to orchestrate the order of it. We don't want to try to just depend on Angular to do it in the order that we want. We need to like be like, hey, is my predecessor gone? If yes, then go ahead and do everything to bootstrap itself in there. But if the predecessor isn't gone, then hold on, wait a second. Um, so I think that's the overall arching thing. And then it is very, very possible that we'll still have the same exact nodes not deleted. And like I said, that would mean that the problem wasn't fundamentally at the router level. It was more on the actual whatever creates the elements and destroys them. So we'll have to dig deeper. And if you remember early on when I was working on the pop-up and all that, and I was interacting with ChatGPT, it was saying, hey, there's a way that you can build these things that is not, that guarantees not to have deleted elements. But I wasn't in the right place to sort of understand what it was saying at the time. Now I'm kind of looking back on, because ChatGPT knew exactly where I was headed. It can tell that, hey, once someone starts investigating stuff, then this is what the end goal is for them to understand how to take like a third party solution and delete it in such a way, and a third party in this case being Angular material, and delete it in such a way that it would make sense. I mean, that you won't get any detached nodes. And that could be where I end up. And I may end up re-implementing the material pop-ups and all that all over again, but in the new way that doesn't create detached nodes, because supposedly it was. But first of all, didn't really believe the words that were coming out of ChatGPT, because it was very clear the chat GPT had been very misinformed. It was like, oh no, you only get this if there's an if. Oh, you only get this. And then I would go through and I'd be like, nope, it's still there. Nope, it's still there. And then it was like, oh, okay, yeah. Oh yeah, there are some people on Reddit that say none of these things work. And I was like, yeah, great. I just wasted a whole day on this. Anyways, tomorrow we'll inject our new service into each of the three layout components and see what's up there, like what we can do to remove it. See if we can remove it, see if it just works. Anyways, happy coding, everybody. Bye.